Warhammer 40k is a universe of endless war, ancient gods, and terrifying horrors beyond comprehension. But among all the factions battling for dominance in the grim darkness of the far future, one stands out for their sheer brutality, boundless enthusiasm for violence, and frankly, their love for a good scrap. That's right, today we're talking about the hooligans of the 40k universe, the biggest, baddest, and loudest race in the galaxy, the Orks. If you like DACA, big explosions, and an army that can turn battlefield trash into deadly weapons, then you're in for a treat. Say it with me, guys. WAAAGH! Hey there, guys. It's a Falling Cow back with another video where we dive into the lore of Warhammer 40k in the most retarded way possible. Today, we're breaking down everything you need to know about the retarded green fellas, the Greenskins. From their origins to their warlike culture, their crazy technology, and their biggest legends. We're covering it all. So strap in, grab some teeth, and get ready to crumb some gits. The Orks, or the Greenskins, are one of the most widespread and destructive forces in the Warhammer 40k universe. They're not just mindless brutes, they're the most numerous and arguably the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Born from a mix of fungus and genetic engineering by the long extinct Old Ones, or as the Orks like to call them, brain boys. Orks are practically made for war. They thrive on conflict, grow stronger the more they fight, and have such a retarded belief in their technology that somehow it works. Unlike most other factions, Orks don't need supply lines, leadership, or even logic to function. They can survive in the most hostile environments, and their makeshift weapons and vehicles work purely because they think they do. We'll get into why later in the video. But yeah, the Greenskins aren't concerned with politics, resources, or diplomacy, only war. An Ork's idea of a good time is a never-ending battle, and their ultimate dream is to join the biggest war. So massive that the entire galaxy is engulfed in eternal combat. Orks trace their origins back to an ancient race known as the Gork. Yeah, very original name, Games Workshop. Created by the Old Ones as a weapon against the Necrons and their Catan overlords. No, not the board game for 3 to 4 players, the evil eldritch horrors. Over time, the Gork civilization devolved into war-obsessed hordes we see today, similar to modern-day Britain. While Orks may not have an empire in the traditional sense, they spread across the galaxy like an unstoppable tide, gathering in massive WAAAGHs to burn, pillage, and conquer. Orks are huge, muscle-bound creatures that grow bigger and stronger the more they fight. I could totally make a dick joke right there, but I won't because I gotta be mature, guys. Come on. They have an incredibly durable biology, able to survive wounds that would kill a human 10 times over. Their fungal nature allows them to reproduce through spores, meaning anywhere an ork dies, more will inevitably sprout. Their skin is green due to their symbiotic algae in their bodies, and they exude a natural aggression that fuels their constant thirst for battle. Ork Society is built entirely around war. Their hierarchy is simple. The biggest and strongest ork leads, and anyone who disagrees gets their skull caved in. Their economy? Teeth. Literally. Ork teeth serves as currency, and since they constantly grow back, just like this dick. Sorry guys, my immaturity won on that one. There's a never-ending supply, which would imply there's a ton of inflation in the Ork Empire, just like the United States of America. The Orks aren't a monolithic force. They're divided into 6 major clans, each with its own unique culture and way of waging war. Goths. The biggest and meanest Orks, Goths love nothing more than a good fight. They prefer brute force over fancy tactics and are led by the mean man himself. I'm totally gonna butcher this. Guy's cool, Thraka. one of the greatest war bosses in history, and has attacked Armageddon many, many times. The Evil Sons. These speed-obsessed orcs live by the motto, "The red wogs go faster." They love vehicles, especially bikes, and literally called war trucks with 2 Ks. Yeah, the orcs aren't very good with grammar, and believe that painting things red make them move quicker. The Bad Moons. The richest orcs, since their teeth grow faster than the others, they have the best gear, the biggest guns, and the flashiest DACA. The Death Skulls. The looters and scavengers of Ork Society. Death Skulls steal anything that isn't bolted down, and even some things that are. That kinda sounds like someone we know. They love blue, believing it brings luck. The Blood Axes. The tacticians of the orcs, Blood Axes actually use strategy, wear camouflage, and even form temporary alliances with other factions when it benefits them, of course. Snake Bites reject fancy technology in favor of brute strength and rely on squigs and other creatures in battle. But who do these orcs worship? The orcs have 2 gods, Gork and Mork. Gork is brutal but cunning, while Mork is cunning but brutal. No one is quite sure of the difference, but orcs claim it's obvious. Their belief system is unique in 40k because of their sheer collective willpower. They can actually shape reality, making things like red paint actually make their vehicles faster. Now, speaking of this collective willpower, it's called a Gestalt field, or WAAAGH energy, which makes their technology work simply because they believe it should. If enough orcs think a pile of junk is a tank, it becomes a fully functional war machine. This psychic field is why only Ork Technology works for orcs. If a human tries to use it, it just becomes scrap. Their weapons are crude but deadly, like the shooter, basically a loud, inaccurate machine gun, the slugger, a pistol that works through volume of fire, and power claws, giant mechanical murder mittens. Their vehicles range from ramshackle buggies to gargants, massive war machines that rival Imperial Titans. Even their aircraft, like DACA Jet, somehow fly despite ignoring aerodynamics entirely. And don't even get me started on the orcs' attack moon bases. They almost wiped out the Imperium during the War of the Beast. Now, who builds all this equipment? Well, they're called the Mech Boys. Yes, with the Z. They are the orc engineers who don't understand how things work, but make them work anyway. Their contraptions function only for orcs, and if anyone else tries, they fall apart instantly, like every single one of my relationships.
That's rough, buddy.
Now, let's discuss the many times the orcs have faced the Imperium, starting with the infamous Ullanor campaign, led by the Emperor of Mankind himself, who led a massive Imperial force to wipe out the Orc Empire of Ullanor, proving that humanity could still stand against the Green Tide. This war was so big that the victory celebrations led to the founding of the War Master title, later given to the bald menace himself, Horst Luberkow. And we all know how that turned out. Next, we have the War of the Beast, an apocalyptic orc invasion led by an orc war boss known only as the Beast, who nearly annihilated the Imperium with his massive Death Star bases. The orcs for once had real leadership and tactics, making them deadlier than ever. Finally, we have the War for Armageddon, one of the most famous orc wars in 40k. This ongoing battle pits Gaz Gul Thraka, one of the most infamous war bosses in history, who is leading a WAAAGH of unprecedented scale, threatening the entire Imperium in a never-ending bloodbath. Even legendary generals like Commissar Yarrick have struggled to hold back the green tide. But what are the green gits up to in the 41st millennium? Right now, the Orks are an ever-present threat across the galaxy, constantly raging war in countless sectors. One of their most notable conflicts is the Third War for Armageddon, where Gazan Kol Thraka has once again emerged to lead yet another massive WAAAGH against the Imperium, with many believing he is now destined to become the prophet of both Mork and Gork, uniting all Orks into the biggest war the galaxy has ever seen. Armageddon, which is an industrial hive world of immense strategic value, has been locked in a brutal and never-ending war between the Orks and the forces of the Imperium, including the Astra Militara, Space Marines, and the Adeptus Mechanicus. However, Armageddon is just one front. The Orks are also ravaging other parts of the galaxy, with various warbands growing in power. The Arcturus War, another significant conflict, is raging between the Orks and the Tyranids. The Imperium, in a desperate move to slow down Hive Fleet Leviathan, lured the Tyranids into Ork-held space, hoping the two factions would annihilate each other. It's pretty much when an unstoppable object meets an immovable force. Unfortunately for the Orks in this scenario though, the Tyranids would end up being victorious and would devour their biomass. Beyond these major campaigns, some warbands are even targeting newly opened regions of space due to the Great Rift, which has torn the galaxy in half, unleashing chaos and disrupting Imperial control. This has given Ork warbands and pirates a golden opportunity to expand their dominance, raiding vulnerable worlds and seizing fresh booty. In short, the Orks are in their prime, unstoppable, growing, and more violent than ever. Their love of war and destruction means the Imperium and every other faction in the galaxy will never know true peace. And that's the Orks in a nutshell. A race of war-hungry, fun-loving, reality-warping lunatics who embody everything that makes Warhammer 40k so wild. If you enjoyed this dive into the greenskins, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments which faction I should do next. Until then, say it with me, guys. WAAAGH!